Hi friends, welcome. This is Floss Tube Wannabe, and I will show you why it is a wannabe floss tube in just a jiffy. So lots of stuff. My whole quilting table here in my studio, aka master bedroom, is completely piled full of stuff, but I want to be able to show you. So traditionally when you watch floss tube, I know when I watch floss tube, everybody's really organized and they have their whips and they have their finishes and they have their haul and then their plans. I just kind of got a jumbled mess because that's my life right now. I work in healthcare. We're, going through this global pandemic. I'm a mom of 7, literally. So that's just my life. So this is what you get. This is Wannabe floss tube, and I'm so glad you're here. And my hope and my prayer is that you're super duper inspired by what you see here so that you can go and make a version all your own and then show it to me. You can follow me on Instagram. My hashtag is justkeepsewingmama. So let's get rocking and rolling here. So first thing I want to show you is I tend to do things in like groups and spurts, and of course I am definitely not can't ever do anything like one at a time, right? I have to, if I'm gonna sit down and make something, I'm gonna make a lot of them. I have this logo that I kind of use, this slogan that I never dirty the kitchen for a dozen cookies, right? Like if you're gonna do it, folks, just go all in. Okay, here we go. So I started on stockings. I know it's early. I intended to do it Christmas in July. It just didn't really work. But look at this cute one. So this was inspired by the Nora Quilt quilt-along from Sunny Day Supply. This is it right here. Isn't this gorgeous? So the Nora quilt is based on, I did mine complete with scraps, but you can do it, of course, however you so desire. But it's essentially the whole quilt is one giant log cabin block, but it's not made with giant squares or strips. Traditionally, or the ones that at least I saw when I was following on Instagram, was you start with like a smaller, like 2.5-inch square, and you just keep going and going and doing this log cabin thing. And I can show you, hopefully in some videos to come, the log cab or the Nora quilts that I have going, and the one that I already finished. I'm also hand quilting one. I don't know why I decided to do that. I was inspired. But anyway, so I was using my Christmas scraps to kind of log cabin this center block, but I wanted to fussy cut it because look at these cute little people there. Aren't they so darling? And then I put this trim on here with just, this I believe I got at Hobby Lobby along with the buttons. I do a lot of antiquing, so I can't always remember where my things come from, so I apologize. But again, it's Wannabe floss tube, Wannabe quilt show, trunk show, whip parade, you name it. It's all in one video here, folks. So, and then these are the little antique buttons. The way that the lady who owned these buttons stored it was just on this piece of thread. I hope you can see that really well. And so all I did was take the group and hand stitch it into there. So I don't line my stockings, but I do feel like an area of improvement on this one would be to put batting on both sides, and I only put batting on the side, the front that I quilted, the pretty side. And then I put a little handmade tag. These tags come from Amazon. That's what I do when I can only shop from home because of all the things we talked about. Okay, then I was working on the bats and boos. Let me show you. I was intending to do the quilt along and the sew along, the bats and blues that Fat Quarter Shop is doing. Not gonna get to the stitch along for the cross stitch, but I am working on the quilt. I'm not a big Halloween fan, but my husband is, and so I like to just kind of, it's his house too, so I try and do that stuff. But currently this project, I'm on week 2. I did the bats. Those turned out really cute. Let me get one of those to show you real briefly. Actually, I have the whole stack here. So here are my bats. These were relatively easy to put together. I would say it's probably beginner-ish friendly. The only thing is you've got these small pieces. This is a 1.5-inch square, I believe, that's cut. And so these are my bats. and I made them completely out of my Halloween scraps, which I don't have hardly any. It's just really not my style, but I love Fat Quarter Shop and have learned a lot from them and purchased a lot from them, and I support what they're doing, and I'm a quilter, so who doesn't love Fat Quarter Shop? So there you go. But this fabric right here I actually got from a local quilt store in Yelm, Washington, called Gigi's Quilting. It's super wonderful. You should check it out. So those are my bat blocks. That was week 1. Week 2 were the pumpkins. And so this is the top of the pumpkin. It's obviously not a finished block, but this project's on timeout. I really got frustrated. I don't consider myself a beginner quilter. I would say I've probably been quilting 10 or 12 years, and I've gotten better over the years, just like you would if you've done anything for that long. And so I keep trying to push myself and learn new things. But anyway, when I was making the pumpkin stem, we were to cut half square triangles, and I automatically did the half square triangle thing and snowballed them, or not snowballed, but pinwheeled them so that they look like a pinwheel. And that's not the way that these actually go together. So I was ripping. So you can even see my ripped threads there. I'm actually not one usually to rip. I had a gentleman that I knew once upon a time when I was younger, and he was an artist. He was really good. You know, he drew, and it wasn't anything fancy, but I liked it, and a lot of other people did, and he always said, never use an eraser, Kayla. If you know, and that's kind of what a seam ripper is, right? It's an eraser. It's a backstop. You got to fix the mistake you made. He said, just if you make a mistake, just go with it. Do something new with, you know, kind of change your plan a little bit. So that's usually what I do, but this one I had to rip because it didn't even look like a stem. So there we go. That's my booze and bats quilt along progress right there. So I've got that going, but then because I had my Halloween scraps out, I thought, why don't I just make a Halloween stocking? I know it's kind of crazy because it's an odd thing. Halloween, you know, stockings are for Christmas, but look at that. I just love it. I'm not sure what kind of fabric I used. Again, this was all from my scraps that I got at a local quilt store. All those googly eyes right there. Then I just had some black ribbon, some really small rickrack, which I tried to sew once on a pillow. This is also a Wannabe, and it was so small, I think it's 1/4 inch, that I was just like all over the thing, so it didn't turn out very well. And then I have my Ever Emblem logo on there. Isn't that cute? It says by Kayla Sharp and handmade, and then on the flip side it has at Just Keep Sewing Mama for Instagram, which I love that. So if you guys make a Halloween stocking, I encourage you, be creative. There's nothing wrong. It can be totally impromptu, which is my favorite way to sew, and just kind of make it something fun, something spooky, something festive. Halloween's right around the corner. I know lots of us are dying in scorching heat still, but you know, it's coming. Fall is coming. I'm on the hope train. It's coming. Okay, so those are my 2 stocking finishes and my progress on my bats and boos. So let me move that around. Now let's get to the actual floss tube part, and then I'll go back to more quilting because I'm a quilter. It's what I do. Look, you can laugh at me. It's fine. It's not a big deal. This I am working on here. So it's probably hard to see, but there's a little snowman here. A tree, a fence, some smaller trees, and then this beautiful house. And right now I'm in the progress of making the outer border, and then I'm going to turn it into a mini pillow for my Christmas decor. I am not super pleased with this because I made so many mistakes. Down here you can see this was all supposed to be 2 different shades of gray, which was what was called for, and somehow I got a hot mess in there. So it's Wannabe cross stitch. Additionally, I hope you can see this. I think you can. See how this patch of white snow around the fence is darker than this patch of the snowman and around the small trees? That's because I took it camping with me. And it's been a dust bowl here in Washington State. It hasn't rained, I think, for like 50 some, maybe even 60 by now days. So it's absolutely a dust bowl. And my kids were literally playing in the dust while we were camping. They run their hands through the sand and then like paint their face like football players. It was kind of funny, but really, really messy. And so when I was doing this, my white got a nice dust tint to it. my friend Laura said, you know what, that's just part of its character, just roll with it. Because I was looking up, well, how do you clean these? It's Dawn dish soap, by the way, is what they say. But that's okay. So lots of mistakes in here. But look what you can do even when you make mistakes. I really want to encourage you, if you're not super fluent in cross stitch, or maybe you're just in a season in your life where you're stitching for therapy and for kind of the calm of it all, but maybe your mind's distracted and you're someplace else and you're not paying attention and you're making a bunch of mistakes, you can certainly rip it if that's what you'd like, or you can just kind of roll with it. And look at my cute little needle minder. That's from Hobby Lobby. So I'm stitching this on 14 count, and I'll tell you why I'm doing that. But first, let me show you. This is a Country Cottage Needleworks. This is the Snowman's Cottage. This is what I was doing. The Snowman's Cottage. It's got a little glare on there. I apologize. So it's part of the Frosty Forest line, and then Country Cottage Needleworks also has the Snow Girls Cottage, and that's right there. So you can kind of see her here. She has earmuffs versus a hat, but I love that the houses are two totally different colors, and they're not your traditional Christmas colors, even though it's a Christmas stitch. So I'm really excited to start this. I'm gonna kit it and hopefully do a video for you guys on how I kit, because of course it's not organized, but all's well that ends well, right? So I want to show you and completely encourage you that if you can't do it perfect, or you don't have all the organization, or the kids bust in and take off with your you know, everything, seam ripper, crochet hook, they pretty much have touched everything. My alpha bitties, cut them with the scissors. I'm like, who even gave you the scissors? It's a mess. So now I also took this one camping. This is one, I'm going to take it out of the hoop for a second, so hopefully you can get a better idea of what it looks like. It is filthy and it needs to be pressed, but this is real life. I'm being completely candid with you guys. This is what I wore to work today. We're just gonna go with it. Came home from work, ran to Walmart, got groceries, came home, loaded this video after I threw my kids to the tub, so it's good. So this is my progress. This is what I'm making. Look at this. And I'll read to you what it says. But look at that detail in those flowers down there. I am stitching this on 30 count because I thought, hey, and it was white before I took it camping. Do you see that black and brown from the hoop? I thought, Kayla, let's just really challenge yourself. And I really do like that I did, because like, look at how small these letters are compared to my finger. And I have very small hands. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how small that lettering is. And that I obviously wouldn't get on a smaller, like 14 or 16 count Ada. So I'm glad I did this one on 30. There's my needle minder. It says, hello, lovely. And you can get those from Hobby Lobby. That's where I got mine. But this is what it's supposed to look like, y'all. This is from the Scarlet House. It's called Seeking Refuge. And this is what it reads. When the world seems to be out of control, I find a way to nurture my soul. Seeking refuge with needle and thread, the angst and anxiety no longer I dread. Look at how wonderful. So then here, there's a spot for you to put your initials. It reads her work in the year of, and then we get to put the year in there. So this is actually the first personalized cross stitch that I have done. And you can see already that I'm not using the called for colors, because look at your bottom flowers there. Mine are quite a bit darker. And I couldn't use the white that was called for here across the across that greenish mint color maybe, because I was using white, so I ended up doing this gray, but I think it still looks really well. Again, lots of mistakes in here, but I'm rolling with it, and this is one I'm actually going to take to a professional framer just because of its size. I know that's going to take me so much time to do it. So I hope those encourage you. These are really fun patterns to work so far. You might be thinking, hey Kayla, why didn't you just use a project bag if you knew you were going to go camping in a dust bowl? That's a good answer, or good question. I don't have a very good answer, other than I did have a project bag. It was one I made. I made one from a pattern that Erica Arndt has on YouTube. She's wonderful. You can follow anything she makes. But I didn't have any clear vinyl, so I used mesh. Yep. So this really doesn't do Erica art justice, but I used mesh. And so guess what happened when the dust came? It obviously went right through the mesh. So good thought for me to think ahead and put it in a project bag so I can keep everything together. Terribly bad execution. So note to self, do a two-sided completely enclosed project bag. All right, moving on. That's my cross stitch that I'm working on. I also have some others that are kind of floating around here, and I hope to find for you and show you. How about some finishes? Again, Wannabe cross stitch, Wannabe floss tube. I'm a Wannabe lots of stuff. Wannabe seamstress, really bad at making clothes. My brain only works for quilting. I am a Wannabe gardener for sure. The gardener with the brown thumb over here. I'm definitely a Wannabe crocheter, and I've actually been crocheting longer than anything else. I think my aunt taught me when I was 9. Anyway, not doing so good. I'm a Wannabe artist, if you can see my pitiful flowers and things on the wall. So, you know, I'm a Wannabe lots of stuff. But this creativity speaks to my soul, and I think with the pandemic and everything that's going on, I just need it. So let me show you this. Look at her. Isn't she darling? These are going to be Christmas ornaments. She has this beautiful holly-like festive trim. She's holding a tree. It does have ornaments on it. Excuse me. And her cute little shoes. And you might be wondering, why is she faceless, Kayla? Well, she's faceless because I'm not very good at outlining like a 1/1. To help get those shapes. And this is a pattern by Veronica Engineer. She has a whole Christmas book, and I'll show it to you at some point in my upcoming videos, but that's where I got these from. These are little like Advent size ideas. So this is a 4-inch hoop right here that I used, and I'm going to turn them into ornaments. And maybe we'll do a video on that. You can kind of get some ideas and we can have a conversation about it. See who likes what the best, and maybe I can learn something. That would be awesome. Here's another one that I made. Lots of mistakes in this one too. The heart is supposed to be wonky like that, but you can see up in my greenery and my floral, it's just a hot mess. But it's so cute. And this is gonna be a cute ornament, and nobody's gonna know it's a hot mess besides us. Look at my back. That's okay, nobody will see. It's no big deal. And then this one right here, this is another good example of Wannabe cross stitch. Look at this cute guy and girl. They're elves, they're wrapping a present. Down here, I was supposed to outline, this is supposed to be a roll of wrapping paper. It's not a puddle of snowman blue water. Nope. It's supposed to be wrapping paper. But I didn't outline it very well because again, I'm not good at that. And so you can't really tell. But you get the gist. It's elves. I mean, look at her tights. Seriously, y'all, if you haven't had the opportunity to stitch from Veronica Engineer, please Google her, look her up on Amazon, see if your local needleworks stores or quilt shops have her books. You can buy a book for, I think it's $25, and there's probably 30 to 60 patterns in each book. It's amazing. She even has a fairy tale one. Okay, I'm going to have to show you in one of our videos. But there you go. Look at how wonderful that is. And like I said, they're faceless. They kind of remind me of like willow tree people, right? Because they're faceless. But I don't think it takes away. I think especially with their hair and their bows and their caps, their elfin caps, their ears being pointed, that you can obviously see what they're supposed to be. So I'm excited for that. And then I picked this up at Hobby Lobby last year to put on some of the ornaments, and I think I paid half price, I'm almost certain. So I paid $2 for this, and it's just 2 paper swags. I found it in the scrapbooking area, but I think I'm going to try and attach it to the top of this. So we should definitely do a video about that, because that would be fun. Okay, embroidery. Let's talk about that. I'm also a wannabe embroiderer, but let me show you this. I posted this on my Instagram, hashtag just keep sewing mama, and this is a lovely pin cushion. It says needles and pins on it. I tried to do the leaf stitch. Not very good at that either. I put some lace on it. Very, very cute. This is vintage lace that I picked up. And then this, excuse me, is vintage fabric. No, I'm sorry, it is not. This I got from the sale area at Hobby Lobby. I almost lied to you. I'm so sorry. But I love birds. I have a thing for birds. I'll have to show you my outfit in just a second. So there we go. Isn't he so cute? I tried to do like this fill-in stitch for him. So he definitely doesn't look like, you know, everybody else's that I've seen that are better at embroidery. But I have been embroidering for a very short period of time. So I'm giving myself grace for this. You can kind of see my little guy here, my spool of threads wonky. That's okay. We're going with it. Nobody knows but us, friends. Somebody would love this for a gift. That is a Jenny Mcwinney pattern, and it came out of this. Isn't that darling? And so this is like a little pamphlet. It's not a book. It has several projects in it that are embroidery, and they also give you, she also gives you the measurements on how to make these actual things. So I had the circular cutout. I had all the step-by-step instructions. I thought they were very easy to follow, but this is the only thing I've made out of it so far. So you can see there's my little hedgehog pillow. Isn't he darling? Down here she has a needle case. It's more for like knitting needles because it's a really long one. And then up here she has a haberdashery bag. So this was really inexpensive, I thought, at Amazon. I wanted to try it. The patterns in here are iron-on transfers, meaning you can just stick them, they're printed backwards so that when you stick them onto the fabric and iron them on, the ink goes onto your fabric and then you just stitch along that ink, much like handwriting something on there. But if it's not iron on, then you have to trace it, and it gets to be a little bit more. So I try and stay to the iron-on fabrics. But again, that is so stinking cute. It's hedgerow sewing suite. All the projects in there are sewing related, so it would be a really nice and inexpensive gift for anybody that you know that sews. Speaking of birds, I wanted to show you. Oh, I'm stuck to my chair. Hold on. Look at. I have these cute little birds. I found this at a secondhand store, and it's a nice big, you know, airy dress that's work appropriate for the most part. So I got that. But the reason I bought it, other than the fact that it's super easy, is it because it reminds me of the Sewing Thief, or the Strawberry Thief by Free Spirit. And so I happen to have this, and I wanted to show it to you. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. This is like, I don't know if you guys are this way, but this is like one of my coveted pieces of fabric that I'm gonna have a really hard time cutting into. But this is called the Strawberry Thief, if you haven't seen it before, by Free Spirit. And look at how beautiful that is. Look at all the different color in those birds. It's just, it's a stunning piece of fabric. But that's why I bought this shirt at the secondhand store. It just jumped out at me and said, buy me, I look like the Strawberry Thief. The things that go through our heads as quilters, right? Okay, then I want to show you, this is what I want to work on after Christmas. I don't know why I bought it this time of year, but Little House Needleworks, this pattern is called America. Look at this. Isn't that lovely? It says, America, America, God shed his grace on thee. And it has some flowers and a white picket fence. I'm a stickler for fences and greenery and anything cute and pretty. So, yeah, I bought this. I'm going to work on this, but I'm not one. I mean, you guys can leave a message in the comments below because I'm curious, like, how do you overcome stitching something that is out of season, right? It's for a season that, like, this is, to me, it could be hung anytime, but to me, this is kind of like a patriotic one. And so I'm not going to be able to stitch this when I have Christmas coming because Christmas is so fun. I can't wait. Let me show you this hot mess that I made. My Wannabe floss tube. It's a darling pattern. It just says fa la 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 la. You have some sheep there. You have some festive greenery here. Gorgeous, gorgeous snowflakes. I just love these snowflakes. See them? Cute border. Love it. I obviously hung it on crooked. Look at this is really bad. I know. Again, you can laugh, you can judge me. I'm a wannabe floss tuber, but I just want to be candid and transparent because I want to encourage everybody as they're starting out that you can do this. If I can do it, even though it looks like this, you can do it. So what I'm going to have to do is I only hot glued this over here. What I'm going to have to do is pop the glue and probably turn it into an ornament because I might lose some of this fold over edge here, and I stitched this on a 14 count. So nice and big, Good size. I love it. And I love the hanger. I just have to watch some more YouTube or learn from somebody how to do a better way of hanging it on here. Plus, it looks very plain to me, and this is not my style. So that's a floss tube. Oops. And I'm going to just work with it. I'm going to fix it because it took time to make it. All right, what else am I working on? Oh! Let me show you this embroidery that I did. This is it's a finish, I guess you would call it. Isn't that darling? This is just one of those, what is it, Auntie Ellen's or Auntie Mary's or somebody. Anyway, you can message me on Instagram or here if you want to know the exact pattern. But they're the ones that are like $1.97 at Walmart, and they're just iron-on transfers. So I just took a piece of linen from Hobby Lobby, and it says honey, sugar, and lemon. And I'm a sucker for variegated thread. So I used variegated thread. Look at how cute that is, y'all. Who wouldn't love that? I am so in love with it. So I want to do a video on how I'm going to finish this finish. I was thinking, and I just kind of got some supplies together. I want to show you, want to see what your thoughts are. I have this that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. It just says blessed on it. It's a wooden plate. I paid half price, so $6 for it. And I'm thinking I'm going to put it here, right? This is my thought. And then I have some hexagons that I have paper piece that I'll probably put along the border here that really do match, I think, pretty well because it's this really light thing. And then I have like some of these wooden, yeah, I just have stuff. This is all from my stash. So the only thing I actually went out and purchased was this plate, and that's because I couldn't find really anything that spoke to me about, by me. So I've also got this little ribbon here from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to try and kind of hang that up there. Got my glue gun for it. Self-stick mounting boards, that's going to be a must. It's already on mounting board, but I want to have this available because I'm going to use the mounting board and batting and then put fabric over it and then put this in front of the fabric. So I'm going to need some more mounting board. So I have that together and then just some ribbon. So I've kind of got these things set aside, hoping I'll be able to do a video and we can chat about what this process looks like for finishing a finish when we're talking embroidery. Okay. Let's talk about what else I'm working on. I am a huge fan of English paper piecing. I just picked it up this year. It has been life-changing for me. It's like sewing on the go, right? And so I can sew while I'm watching a movie with my kids. I can sew while I'm at the football game for my son. I pretty much can stitch anywhere. I take it on vacation. I'm not hauling my, Viking sewing machine around. So I explored, well, first I'm working with hexagons because who doesn't love a good hexagon? So I want to show you some of my hexagon blocks I'm working on. So here's some of them. Look at these little lambs. This is all scraps. I did not go out and buy fabric for this. I have a huge scrap stash after quilting for so long. And so I just wanted to start going through some of this stuff and make this really scrappy. I have no rhyme or reason to it. Look, we've got some tilde fabrics in there. We have some reproduction fabrics. Some of them are going to be directional like this one and going wrong way on a one way. And that's okay, right? So I just have this stack here that I'm just going to show you a few more, kind of give you some inspiration. So English paper piecing, super duper fun. Let me know if you want me to show you how I do it, but I literally just learned, so I'm by no means an expert. Look I love the bumblebees. I think this was a Corey Yoder, wasn't it? Fabric line. She makes all things pretty. Look at this one. I made this and I was like, Kayla, why do you not sew with more greens? I mean, these came out of, I think, a charm pack right here. And I know this I had the yardage for that I bought at a local quilt store. That was just scraps. It was on a discount. So here's some more fabrics. And you just get to kind of put them together however you see fit, whatever tickles your fancy for the day. Look at all these lovelies. Lovelies. And I have a bunch of pictures of them on my Instagram, Just Keep Sewing Mama. So you can, and that's M-A-M-A. Mama is M-A-M-A in that case. So you can certainly follow me on Instagram, and you can see all these beautiful, beautiful blocks that I've been making. So once I pull the papers out, what I'm doing is I'm hand turn appliquing them, and I don't know that you're going to be able to see this, but I'm really going to try. You see all those little stitches in there? You can see better on the blue one. And so I'm just doing needle turn applique, and I'm just stitching them onto the block like this. See all my little stitches there? How I learned to needle turn applique was from, oh my gosh, I love her dearly. How come I cannot think of her name? The Vintage Sewing Box, I want to say, or something like that. I'll have to come up with her name, but she's absolutely fabulous. So needle turn applique, she's great with English paper piecing. She just does a really good job, and so she taught me how to do it. Hopefully I can link it below. If not, definitely reach out to me. So I'm working on these. This stash is ever growing. These are 7-inch squares of just, it's probably even a pretty inexpensive, because it feels pretty thin, background that I'm using, and they're not cut precisely. I just, I don't have a very large cutting space. My cutting mat is 18 by 24, and I have a 6-inch table, so I have the cutting mat, the sewing machine, the tailor's quilter's friend mat that cuts on one side and irons on the other. So I literally have the iron, the sewing machine, the cutting mat, and it's kind of all at the front of this. And then behind all that, I have all my more sewing crap, right? Threads and scrap bins and things like that are all back there. Some of my vintage finds. I'm a sucker for vintage haberdashery items, you name it, buttons, threads, needles. I have a Singer zipper foot or pressing foot or walking foot. I believe it's from the late 30s. Yeah, I believe it's from the late 30s. Anyway, hopefully I'll get to show it to you sometime, but I don't even have a Singer, obviously. I love it. It's so good. I have to have it all. So second English paper piecing project I'm working on are these Dilly Flowers. Look at this. And I did buy the fabric for this one. I just went to a local quilt store in Wisconsin where we were traveling, and I just purchased a layer cake, just one. Not a layer cake, I'm sorry, a charm pack, so 5-inch squares. Look at this. Look at the color on there. Isn't that fabulous? And then these are Moda Solids, that a fat quarter bundle of Moda Solids that I got from Amazon. And I'm just putting it together. Just, again, 7-inch. And I'm doing a 7-inch block because these are 1-inch Dilly Flowers, and those were 1-inch hexagons. And I think that 7 inches looks the best. Look at that one with that blue, like birchwood. That's amazing. And this one. And then check out this one. A lot of people like with just the outer petals being all the same, like these two are. But I don't have a preference. I like them all. So again, this is going to grow until I run out of this charm pack, and then I'm just going to sew it together, whatever size that is. No pattern. Same spiel with this. However many times I can make it divisible, that's the size quilt I'm going to have. And I have youngins and oldins, so that should be pretty good. English paper piecing project number 3. I have a lot. The Beauty and the Beast fabric that came out. It's probably one of my favorite lines that has ever come out that I've ever seen. Here we go. Look at this. Look at Belle sitting there. So these are jewel blocks. They're 1-inch jewel blocks because this is a jewel piece. And all I did was sew 6 of them together to make these jewel flowers. Aren't these darling? So it's going to be the same spiel for these. You can sew them together like this. Let me show you how to do this. Right? You can sew them together like this and make one giant quilt top, but I really enjoy the process of hand applique or needle turn applique. It's relaxing and soothing for me, so I'm going to do the same thing like I did on these once I have enough. So I'm going to keep rolling through that. And when I run out of papers, I just start pulling papers, I glue the fabric back down, and press it if I'm at my table, but if I'm not, I'll just glue it back down and finger press, and then I'll use the papers to keep cutting. So I just make a stack until I run out of paper. But doesn't that inspire you? I love it. Okay, last English paper piecing project that I have going on, you can tell how much I love it because I have so much going on, are these. These are octagons. And again, hand stitched on here. Let me show you a couple of these bad guys. I wanted this line of fabric for so long. It's so darling. Can't remember what it is, of course. But I love the strawberries. I love the rhubarb colored tones that they have in here. So this is really lovely. I love the small font and the big font. These are little roses. Look at that. Isn't that cute? So I have a smaller stack of these going on. These are actually very simple to put in, but when you do that needle turn hand applique, you're sewing by hand all around the outside, and then you also have to come in and do this diamond or, you know, square if you're looking at it from here. So you can kind of see what the back looks like. You have all these little stitches. And I'm just using a regular needle and thread, nothing fancy. I'm trying to switch to a 1/2 inch needle, so I purchased some of those to see if that doesn't make my stitches a little bit smaller, and so far that seems to be the case. Okay, now let's talk about my haul and my quilting progress, and then that's going to be a wrap, folks. So excited about this. Bought this on a D-stash. This is Liberty Fabrics. Look at these. So these are Liberty Fabrics. Aren't these lovely? This is the backing, and then there are 4 sets of 5 fat quarters, and I got a smash and deal on these, so I'm so excited. You know, I'm a sucker for Liberty fabric. I just am. Who doesn't love all this? Who doesn't love these flowers? And I think these smaller shapes are really, really good for English paper piecing, and so I'm really excited to use this. I have no plans to use it just yet because I don't know what I want to do with it, but I'm really excited. Okay, so another quilty project I have in the mix. I'm sorry I have so much to show you guys, but that's just the way it is. I am making the Railroad Crossing quilt from Fat Quarter Shop. It's a completely free pattern. It's available on their website, fatquartershop.com. And then Kimberly also posts on her Jolly Jabber blog. But basically, I used an ombre jelly roll. I sewed 4 of them together. I cut them to the appropriate length. I sewed them just the way that they came off the roll because I really want to try this ombre effect. And I'm really proud of myself, guys and gals, because guess what? These are not my colors. You maybe could see I'm more for like the vintage feels, the reproduction fabrics, the happy soft pastels, the muted tones, that kind of thing. But and this is bold and this is geometric. But I needed to try something new. And my husband certainly has more of a modern taste than I do. But look at those moons. Isn't that gorgeous? So I did this, and I was really pleased as punch because I was just going to like breeze through this, right? Because it's a jelly roll quilt. How hard can it be? It's not difficult, but I think the next step is to cut 96 squares, and it's done on the 8th. So I think it's a 6 5/8 is what I have to cut next. So I'm procrastinating. That's in the timeout pile. Not because it's hard, but just because I'm going to get bored of it really quick. I'll just be honest with you. So I will finish that quilt. All right, let me show you what else I'm working on. This, friends, look at. Oh! This is the darling kitty quilt, or kitty corn fabric. I apologize. So let me give you a close-up. Look at this. Isn't this darling? Those are little moons and stars. This came from my stash. But I got this at a local quilt shop, and unfortunately they only had this one bolt of the kitty corn fabric by Moda. And I was really sad. So I used up what I could, this is a quilt. I had four patches left, so I put one on each corner. And I'm really excited about this quilt. I had to then go ahead and purchase backing for it because piecing backing, desperately not my favorite thing to do. So I just totally cheated, went to fatquartershop.com and I purchased backing, and here it is. It's not very Halloween-ish, but it's this muted black, so it's definitely a gray, but it has enough black in it that I would think it would qualify as muted black. So look at this. Isn't this darling? So this is by Riley Blake Designs and Minky Kim. So I'm, you know, who doesn't love her? She's fabulous on YouTube. She has like all these super wonderful ideas. If you're ever tired of making the same old thing, same old zipper pouches, same old pot holders, or you need to come up with a really fast gift, Minky Kim, YouTuber, it's amazing. And she does have some videos that she does in compilation with Fat Quarter Shop, so you can catch that on YouTube too. So this is going to be the backing for that 4-patch quilt. It's very crinkly. Now let me show you what else I'm working on for quilting. Before I went and cut everything into these 7-inch squares, you know, for these guys, I went and tried to do a whole panel quilt and just applique the hexagons on there. So I used 3/4 inch hexagons and I used 1-inch hexagons, and I kind of put them all together. So maybe you'll love this and maybe it'll be great inspiration for you. I don't know. I adore it, but it's really hard to work on for me. So I'm just going to kind of hold it up and then I'll do a close-up. What I did here is I took, oh good, you can see it perfect, is I took 3 half-yard cuts, 3 half-yard cuts, and I just sewed them together. See that? And then I just hand appliqued these on. So you can see here's the smaller 3/4 inch ones. Look it! I love that fabric. But then I also have some bright, happy 1-inch. So that kind of gives you an idea. And I'm just sewing them on there. So there's the 3/4 and there's the 1. And then some of them I'm putting vintage buttons in the middle. Do you love that? What do you think? It's not centered. Of course not, because I made it, but you know, I was told the Amish, because there's some Amish up in Wisconsin where we were from, where my husband and I were born and raised, and they always said that the Amish would have to put a mistake in their quilts so that people knew they were handmade. No problem here. That just happens naturally. And let me show you how I store mine. These are the hangers that you buy blankets from at like Marshall's, Ross, TJ Maxx. They're just wooden. They have a little bar, and I just roll them on here. So I think they would also be like pants hangers. I don't know. We don't have a lot of fancy clothes because, you know, we have 7 kids. So we don't really hang up our slacks, so to speak. But that's what I use these for. So anytime I'm gifted a blanket or I go and buy one at, I should never buy a blanket. I have so many quilts, but, and then I hang onto the hanger. So I keep these in my closet empty, and then I just hang up quilts as I'm going. Okay, last thing, and then we're gonna have to call it here because I have too much to show you. I want to inspire you the way that you all inspire me through your floss tube, your quilting videos, your how-tos, your let me show you what I made. So this is Nora Quilt number 2. This is the one that Sunny Day Supply, I told you at the beginning of the video, was doing. It's not a very big quilt. I'm 5'2", and so it covers head to toe for me, so I know up and down it's 62 inches. But I love that it's this giant log cabin block. So let me get closer so you can see. There's my center block. I chose to do a 4-patch of 2.5-inch squares. And then, I mean, I just kept going and going. Look at the puppy fabric in there. Amazing. I have a little bit of Darlene Zimmerman's favorite things in here. I did some rando stitches just in different places. You can really see it on the white where I'm working on the hand quilting, I mean. But I'm not very good at it. My stitches aren't very close, you know, so it's a work in progress. I'm working on it. but I am using DMC Floss 2 strands to do the quilting, and because I want people to see it. Like, I'm putting all this work in it, like, even if nobody else sees it, I want to see it. Like, I want to see there's my Wannabe stitches again. So anyway, I love this, and I love being here. I love talking to you, having a conversation, being inspired by you. I hope you've seen a bunch of wonderful things. If you have any questions on them, hit me up on Instagram, hashtag just keep sewing mama, that's MAMA, and I am going to hopefully see you next when we do the finish on that honey tea and lemon embroidery. So tell me what you think, you guys.